Hi, and welcome back to Just Ask the Question. I'm your host, Brian Karam. With me today is Juliet Jeske. She is, she has a master's degree in journalism, so we're going to have fun with this one, and a former performer. But the reason why you might know her, and the reason we have her on the show today to talk, is what she's done with Donald Trump and his wonderful gibberish. Uh, Juliet, I got to tell you, if you haven't seen it, folks, she is very good at just simply reading the quotes from Donald Trump, putting them on the internet, and allowing people to see Donald Trump's words without ever hearing Donald Trump say them, which separates the man from the words and lets you see just how damn nuts our current president really is. So, Juliet, I want to thank you for joining me. And the question I've got to ask, because this is Just Ask the Question, how the hell did you come up with this idea? Because I find it brilliant.
Oh, yeah, it was sort of an accident. I was posting clips because I mostly cover Fox News, but I also cover Trump because everybody wants to see what he's doing and all of that. And I would post problematic things he said, and I would look at the comments on social media, and half of them would be, I know I should watch this, but I can't stand to hear his voice. I can't stand to see his face. And so people kept saying that. And I was like, people really need to see what he's saying because this is crazy what he's saying. And so I came up with this concept of I'm going to block his face and take his voice out, and I'll just read what he says. And so across the screen, you see a big giant caption, and I make all of them where you see the words completely blocks his face. Not even for a second do you see his face. And then by
Right.
removing his voice and then reading it in a different voice, you suddenly hear it. Like instead of hearing that cadence that he has of like, you
Yeah.
hear someone actually speak his
There's
voice.
so many people who don't understand
Yeah.
how great I
Instead of that,
am. I'm the
yeah,
most
instead of that,
brilliant.
yeah. So instead you just hear him going, the Potomac River, the Potomac River. Don't put a basement in a building, not next to a river. And you can hear the crazy. And so that's what blew up. I used to take entire interviews, reduce them down to 2 minutes, and I called them the annotated version. That's when I first started doing it. And then I realized they took way too long to make and
Right.
nobody knew what annotize meant. So I'm like, just cut it. Just, it's like, I'm making this too
That's
hard.
a different issue. That's
No,
yeah.
it's something with journalism. They were always like, if you can just say it in a simple word, use the simple word. I'm like, okay. Like beat that into your head in J school. Like just get to the point. Okay. And I'm like, okay. So I was like, so we started calling them, the actual titles are called like Donald Trump quotes without face or voice. And then it's called Trump without Trump is how I start every single one of them. And they took on I made one slight change a couple months ago where I added royalty free music underneath it, and that was the game changer. They blew up, and like went. They were always popular, but that caused them to go to the stratosphere in popularity, and it was just because it adds an element of just kind of
Whimsy.
sarcastic, yeah, whimsy, because it's supposed to be like very reverent music, but then what he's saying is total nonsense, and that it like just upped the comedy of it. But I joke all the time that I still think it's 100% journalism because it's verbatim what he says. So I don't change a word he says, and I don't take anything out of context. I try to frame the quote as accurately as possible so nobody can say I'm misrepresenting him. And ultimately, as a journalist, I'm here to inform the public, so I feel like I'm still informing the public. And they've been wildly popular, so I'm very happy
What's your
with how they're
favorite?
going. My favorite is basements, water pumps, and ceilings, but hammers, which is another favorite because he
Okay,
hammers
tell me,
hammers.
explain that one. Now you talked about basement, and I heard that in real time, and said to myself, "Holy crap!" And but what's hammers, hammers, hammers?
Hammers was said during an Oval Office press conference. I tend to get the best clips when he's answering a question from a
Yes.
journalist or he's just rambling. Because if he's on script, he'll sound somewhat normal. And hammers, he was talking about crime. And it was something about protesters. And he claimed, and this story makes no sense, that protesters were buying bright, shiny new hammers, special hammers. and they were going to municipalities and taking their hammers and breaking the sidewalk up with them, and then taking the chunks of cement and concrete and granite, which granite, okay, and breaking just with a hammer and throwing them at cops. And he's like, you see, when they're done, there's nothing left of the sidewalk. It's all broken up. And it makes no sense. It's just some weird figment of his imagination. And that one also performed really well because it's so like, what? Like, and nobody stops him. Nobody goes, wait a second, Mr. President, Mr. President. As soon as he starts talking about hammers, 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 you would think one of his handlers would be like, hey, dude, come here. But they just let him go. And I'm just like,
I think he could do the same thing with some of his Truth Social statements.
I've thought about it. I usually run out of time because my regular job is already kind of intense. But yeah, I've thought about reading his Truth Socials just verbatim in, again, a chipper female voice, and it's like you hear it completely differently. Because he'll be like, it just opens it up. It's wild how we've become so desensitized to him that we do. And before I changed careers, like Trump won, I couldn't stand to listen to him. I would just be like, no.
Hey, I cover him every day. Imagine how
I know. I don't know how you do it. It's I've been on Jim Acosta's show too, and Trump seems to have like a weird vendetta against Jim Acosta that I didn't notice until Jim Acosta pointed it out, and now I'm like, I can't unsee it. Where he'll just like, for no reason, I just talked about this. He made a video. Patriot Takes got it from Mar-a-Lago. There's a video from Mar-a-Lago. This is just this last weekend where they were showing some party, and they had a live singer on stage singing a song about how Trump won the 2020 election. And they had a video to the side that included clips that was to accompany this, like, Trump won, you know it. And as they're showing the video, Jim Acosta's face just for no reason. And I'm like, why? Why?
Well, because I'll tell you why. He pulled Jim's press pass, and Jim beat him in court. I'm going to tell you, here's one of my favorites that you did. This is from, I think this was the American Business Forum on November 7th. The quote, for generations, Miami has been a haven for those fleeing communist tyranny in South Africa. And when I watched it the first time, I go, did anybody catch this? And thankfully you did. One of the biggest concerns that I have with the press, and I'm a member of it, and that others in the press have, is that we're trying to sanitize Donald. In fact, I know people in the pool who sit there and go, look, I have a hard time anymore getting a full quote out of the gibberish. I have to pull a few words out at a time. And some have responded, like a buddy of mine, SV Date at HuffPost, who says, why do it? Why pull it at all? Just let it fly as it is.
Yeah.
And we were having that discussion, actually, when I came across your stuff. So what's the advantage, you think, to people seeing the unexpurgated? That you are, in essence, and I guess you're pulling some of this stuff from transcripts. Are you not?
What I do is I capture everything or download it.
Okay.
Either way I can get it, and then I put it through Premiere Pro. It will create a transcript, but then I always triple check it. So the best length for me is about 1.5 minutes, 1:40. Those make the best length for social media with the intro and everything. And so when I hear something, I try to find a beginning, middle, end that will work in that parameter. And then I clip that, and then I'll take the transcript, print it out, put it on actual paper, and then very carefully make sure that every single word is correct based off what he says. So I kind of do it by hand a little bit. It's like half done by Premiere Pro, but it makes tons of mistakes.
Right.
So you have to go through and make sure it's perfect. And then I usually now at this point, because I've been doing so many of them, I can usually complete one in just a couple takes. It used to take me more because he just speaks so oddly. And just the whole weird thing, the weave, where he'll stop himself mid-thought, pivot, and move into another thought. And what are you doing? Because with the South Africa bit, he was like, South Africa. And then he realized, that's the wrong country. South America. And it was,
Yeah.
which is a continent, not a
Yeah.
country.
Not the
And you're like,
country.
okay, buddy. And then on that one, I purposely made the caption South Africa look very different than South America. So used all the colors from the South African flag to really hit it over the head of like, this, he's getting this word wrong, because a casual listener may not catch that he said that wrong. So I did that. And I also, whenever he says something too much, because he repeats a lot, I will overly hit that in the caption, like communist. It gets really big on the screen.
Yeah.
Um, like he said, they flee, they flee, they flee. Like he did that on that one. He made
Yeah.
this weird. It just the repetition with that man. It's like,
What does it tell you about him you said you couldn't stand to sit through his first administration, and you're right about it. Some of it is numbing. I mean, after you get hit over the head with this crap, after a while, a lot of reporters just, we want to get out of the room. It's like,
mm,
we know you're nuts. We're not going to. But to the casual observer, what service do you believe you're providing them, and what have you learned from what you do?
well, I've learned that I think he's deteriorating more quickly than people think, and I am doing a side project just because I wanted to see exactly where he was changing things in his campaign speeches. So I have a spreadsheet of all 117, and I'm literally going through one every single day, and watching the ones from like when he first started this latest campaign in 2023. You can
Right.
tell just in 2 years that I think the stress of being president, where you don't sleep and you're traveling constantly, and that just the constant jet lag has to take its toll on somebody his age, especially. Tends, and we know this already, tends to speed up aging. And I've seen a huge decline. That's something I've noticed, is that he's really starting to go. And the other thing that I
Well, I would
appreciate,
say, okay, I'm sorry.
sorry.
Go ahead. No,
Oh,
go
I was
ahead.
just going to say, the other thing that I appreciate about feedback from people is they say, I love that you do this, because it's like we finally hear him for real.
Yeah.
It's like I'm amplifying the the dysfunction, the pathology.
That's well, here's a couple of things that I've noticed, and this is just from covering him. First of all, I do not call what he does press conferences. He hasn't had a press conference. He's had press availabilities. It's the pool, and these are usually what we used to call pool sprays. So the pool is about 15 photographers, reporters who watch. And so we go into the room. It's a lot easier. He's picked pretty much who's going to be in the pool. So there's very little chance that there's going to be a confrontation with him
Yeah,
the way I would do it, the way
yeah,
Jim would do it, the way John Carl did it, the way a lot of people, including Caitlin Collins, who's still there,
yeah,
would do it. We would, and one of the things that he doesn't want to see is us. I've been warned by many press secretaries, when they hear us repeating the questions of another, they know they're in trouble. Donald Trump takes that out of the equation. So he's before a fewer number of people. He used to do a lot of rallies in his first administration. He doesn't do any of those anymore. He's never been in a White House press briefing room. He appears, there are times when he's putting in like a 4-day work week. And one of the things that we notice is that when he walks into the Oval Office, by tradition, there's a Marine color guard that walks outside of the West Wing, and they're there from the time he gets in to the time he leaves. And that Marine is not doing very heavy duty these days. Sometimes he's not in till around noon, and he's out by 4, and it's only
wow,
about 4 days a week, if that. Donald
wow,
Trump is appearing less and less in front of public, so we noticed that, and we tried to report that. Then the other thing I've noticed is, like you, he's just not making sense.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's why I really like what you've put out, because it's hard in a traditional news story to put a minute or a minute and a half soundbite from Donald Trump together. However, for the wonderful world of the internet, this plays
yeah,
well.
yeah. It
What are
is
some of the
crazy. Sorry, go
Oh,
ahead.
and I'll tell you the other thing where I've noticed a big drop off. And if you're accumulating this stuff to look at it, Watch what happened. Look at him pre-shooting incident and after. Now, many doctors that I've talked to who have dealt with patients who've had traumatic injuries, such as nearly getting killed by a sniper, they will tell you that physical decline and mental decline accompanies it because of the stress,
Mm-hmm.
and it's exacerbated in this case by his age. So I would point to that and say, take a look at that and tell me what you think, because I that's where I noticed things began to drop off precipitously. Not that they haven't dropped off before. As I said in July of 2020, I began to notice, the handshake, the leaning forward, the hesitancy in his speech, the repetition, the listlessness, the tiredness. All of that I saw 6 years ago, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
think he's gotten any better.
No, he has that habit of going, when he's talking, and it's this
Mm-hmm.
weird pause, but he's always going, and it's like, it's very, once you start hearing it, you can't unhear it.
Right.
And here's an example, though, of like why these videos, I like making them. Uh,
Well,
if
they're
you,
fun to begin with. I got to
yeah,
tell you,
they
just
are
on a
fun.
fun aspect,
They are
if you
fun. And I
laugh or
never know,
cry, we'll be here all week. Try the veal, but
well,
I
and
like that you can laugh at it.
one of the lines that nobody had heard before, and now you know it because he says transgender for everybody or
Right.
transgender for everyone, right? That's a classic Trump line. And I put it happened in one of my Trump without Trump, and I got so many comments on it because people said, what does he mean? I go, oh, he says that all the time. He says that every time he has a speech. And they're like, really? I'm like, yeah, that's a classic Trump line. People just didn't hear it. They just didn't hear it because they're like, nope, nope. And I go, he thinks that transgender people want everyone to be transgender, which is nutty. Of course they don't. But he has this kind of crazy, transgender for everyone. And it's like, people literally had not heard that. And I'm like, oh, he says it every time he speaks. So I was shocked people hadn't heard that. That one blew
Well,
me away.
yeah,
Because they just tune him out. They just tune
yeah.
him out. It's like the crazy grandpa. You're like, I can't.
Nobody's ever heard of this before. Anybody? I mean, that's
Oh,
another one of this.
I have
It's
done
like
it.
nothing ever seen before. It's always a superlative. No one's
Yeah.
ever seen it before.
Like no one's ever
No
seen
one.
anything like it.
No one's ever seen anything. Can you imagine? No one's ever seen anything like it. I get
Sir,
so tired of hearing that one.
that
But
one, and
I'll
I've
tell you
made
my
fun of.
favorite one.
Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
Nobody knows what magnets are.
I haven't done the magnet one yet.
I,
Yeah.
I was like, what? What the fuck are you talking about?
Rare earths. Sometimes he says earths. Rare earths. They have rare earths. Nobody's seen
Yeah.
everything like it. I've made edits of just him saying nobody's seen anything like it. Like I've gone through like one of his like 2 hour monsters and just edited that. Or I did an edit once, one of his longer press conferences where I just called it the Sir edit. And it was just him going, Sir, Sir, they said to me. And it was just clips of him telling his stupid Sir stories of like, they said to me,
I did that
Sir.
in his first administration. It was quiet, quiet, sit down, quiet. Every time he did that to a reporter, and I cut it up and put it together, and he was.
And then
You
it's so
okay?
funny when you watch the clips as a non-journal, you're just watching the clips. It's so funny. He's yelling at the reporter, and you always see the reporter just like, just like
Or
whatever.
rolling their eyes. Sometimes you'll catch us just rolling our eyes, going, "Oh fuck."
Well, I know. And now my sister mentioned this, and I, of course, knew that this was going on. She goes, "What's up with the press pool? Why is it when I see these Oval Office press conferences, they're like half the questions are like, 'Sir, you're amazing, Mr. President,' and I'm like, because they're all from these crazy right wing like
Right.
outlets. They'll start their question just like, 'Everything is going great in the country right now, Mr. President,' and you're doing such an amazing job. And they do like a little mini monologue, and then he goes, 'Thank you so much for that amazing question. I like you. I like,' and I'm like,
I like it. I like when he goes, "Who are you with?" And if he doesn't like the question, he goes, "Fake news." And then if he likes him, he goes, "You're an amazing person. That's a great question. Love it."
Then I invented fake news. I'm the one that came up with that. I'm like, what? He
Yeah,
really
that's.
believes it. He really believes that he came up with that term, fake
Well,
news.
how about affordability? He came up with that one. No one's ever heard the term before. Affordability. I came up with that.
Groceries are way down.
Yeah. Oh, that's. I like how here's another one. Have you heard this one? How many wars he solved?
Oh,
He
eight.
solved them
Eight.
as if they were. And that's not
That's the
only a
country's wrong.
bad word, but when he said at one point in time, and I think I was. This is one of the last times I was there. He said he had solved 7 wars, solved them, and 3
Solved them.
pre-wars. And so I said, well, how do you solve a pre-war? Isn't that peace? So if you solved peace, did you start a war and then end it? I mean, what the hell does that even mean?
Well, and
So
then he got, buddy. Okay. He also does this one. You've probably noticed it when he does states. Although he's started to mix this up. He'll go this like because I had to look this up once, like the best schools, and he wasn't even close. He's like the best schools are in Iowa, Indiana, Idaho. It's always the 3 I states. And now instead of Idaho, he'll go Iowa, Indiana, Florida, and I'm like, I'm like Connecticut, New Jersey, Massachusetts. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm saying the real states that are good at.
well, or when he quotes, how about when he quotes statistics and they're never right?
Oh, I'm going to get prices down 8,000%. I'm like, sir, that would mean that someone would pay. That's how prices work.
Yeah,
It's below
that's
100. Like he said about eggs, I got the price of eggs down
1,000.
400%. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's changed it. But I did the math on that once, and I made a video where I'm like, and if that were true, then if you went to the store, they would pay you $9.45 to take eggs off their hands. That's
gas
what
down to under $2 a gallon everywhere you go. I have a
under $2. I've got it, and everyone knows it. And shut up if you're wrong. You're just wrong. And it's like people. It's been one of the things I think that is sort of his downfall right now. That hopefully will keep going. Is it's really difficult to lie about grocery prices because everybody knows them. You know, it's hard to unless you've got like a servant.
So that
Yeah.
brings me to the other question. What have you discovered in watching, listening, and reading what he says? What has surprised you?
Oh, that's a good question.
I try every once in a while.
No, I mean it's hard because it's like what would surprise me because I've watched so much of him. I think the level of delusion, like this story about the hammers, 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 like how on earth do you believe that story? Because there's no basis in reality. Or another one, he told a crazy story where he claimed that firemen were getting shot at in inner cities while they were putting out fires. And I even looked that up because I'm like, what on earth is he talking about? There have been incidents, but they're incredibly rare. Like I even looked up, I'm such a nerd because my background was as a researcher, that in the FDNY, for instance, in a given year has 1.9 million calls. 1.9 million calls. And they hadn't had an attack on a fireman. They had one like, I want to say it was like almost 20 years ago. And when that happened, they hadn't had one in like 25 years before that. So it's incredibly freakish that anything like that happens. But Trump
You
had
often
convinced
don't shoot
himself.
at people who are trying to put out the
Yeah.
fire.
Yeah, firemen are generally beloved by everybody, even criminals love them because they go, oh,
Oh,
look, they're
thank
putting out a
God.
fire.
He saved my
Yeah.
stash house. I won't shoot him.
Yay. Yeah. So he kept telling this story about like how they go up on the ladders and if they fall off that ladder, they're dead. They don't even have to inspect the body. They're dead.
And
And
the ladders go up, up, up
up,
into the
up.
sky.
Yeah. And it was like, what are you like, what happened to your brain that you believe this story? Like, where are you getting this? And it's just, those have performed really well because people go, this can't be real. And it's real. And
It's
then
free association, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
it just sounds like it's stream of consciousness. No thought, just whatever thought pops into his head, he's saying.
Well, yeah. And the last one that you mentioned where he started off with South Africa's communists. Then he starts talking about South America. Then he starts talking about New York. And then he's like de Blasio. And then he goes from de Blasio into Lori Lightfoot and he calls her luxuriant hair. And you're like,
Yes, I mentioned that one.
and the thing that
Got
made
her
me
hair done very expensively.
very
Was the
expensively.
Yeah?
the thing that made me crazy, because I also went through this 60 Minutes interview with a fine tooth comb, and I tried to reconstruct where they pulled. Because if you just watch the whole thing and watch the edited version, it's harder to follow it. So I just went through with a transcript, and like every single time took hours. And I reconstructed, like, this is what they cut, this is what was here. This is what they cut, this is what was here. And I'm talking even like single words sometimes. And the thing that I noticed that drove me crazy is, because I thought, this is sane washing. You're sane washing this person. You're making him look better, and you shouldn't do that. Is they had a question where they said, like, what do you think of Zoran Mandani? And they cut like a good minute and a half, 2 minutes of him rambling about de Blasio. And then he finally got to Mandani. And I'm like, what are you doing? And like times where he would ramble and just say kind of the same thing over and over and over. They'd cut all that out to make him sound sane. And I'm like, that's not, I mean, I get that they do that for time.
What did you think of that interview?
I just thought it was a hacked up mess. I don't blame the reporter who got stuck with that gig, because I mean, she's not the one in control. I mean, her, CBS, people are holding on for dear life for their jobs at this point. So I didn't want to attack her at all, because I'm like, she's I mean, like, I can't imagine having to do that. I think she did as good as she could do, considering the circumstances. I just don't want to demonize her in any way, shape, or form. But it was heavily, heavily edited, to the point that they were moving sections around, and it was it took me 10 hours to reconstruct. I mean, it was just, I didn't think it was going to take that long. And once I got into it, I'm like, this is going to be my whole day. And I'm like, well, whatever, I'm going to finish it. And it was Frankenstein's monster. It was just so cut up. And the irony of him suing CBS over a slightly, altered answer by Kamala Harris was just absurd, absolutely absurd. And like Nora, what's her name? Nora O'Donnell.
Donald. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to attack her in any way, shape, or form, because I think she was given the assignment here. You're gonna interview the president, and she knows what she's probably facing with the management there. And I can't. It's not like she set the interview up and was like, this, I'm an independent reporter. That would be very different. But I think,
Right.
considering the what her employer has been through with him, and the lawsuit and the settlement, which was shameful on their part, and all of it, and now with the new management, it's just like, God, I had nothing but sympathy for her. I'm like, this is hell. And I mean, if people disagree, that's fine. I don't like to attack other reporters unless they're just absolutely,
That's my job.
I think we're in such a dark time in regards to how the press is handling him, and how these larger media companies are dealing with him. They're all just like walking on eggshells, and it's just been so depressing to watch that. It gives me some hope for smaller media companies and independent media, because nobody tells me what to say or do. And that's one of the advantages of Substack. And like smaller media companies, I think, are more.
You're certainly more free in your speech. Yes.
Yes.
My only concern is that we adhere and one of the questions I was going to ask you, but you already answered, was adhering to the precepts of journalism, vetted factual information. Usually it's aided along by an editor.
Yeah.
You have someone looking over your shoulder going, where'd you get that quote from? But you are simply, you're just simply reporting what the man said.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it is the very essence of journalism. Observation and reporting what it is that's there. No change at all, just putting it out there. You can decide what it means.
Yeah.
And as far as that goes, let me ask you, after all of this is said and done, what do you think it all means?
I think he is declining in front of our eyes. I think it is, he's incredibly dangerous because of his position of power. I get worried that he's surrounded himself with yes men who will not stand up to him at all. I'm fearful.
That's a fact.
Yeah,
And
but
you're
I have some hope that
wait a minute, what are you fearful for?
fearful he'll do something reckless, like the way he talked about Nigeria, which we have no business sending our troops into Nigeria, and he's acted like
Or Venezuela,
or
or
Venezuela.
nuclear testing.
Yeah, or nuclear testing, all bad ideas. Because he doesn't seem to realize, and any diplomat could tell him this, but when he attacks Maduro, he's empowering Maduro, because Maduro's base is going to be like, how dare you? And people who are on the fence about Maduro will go, how dare you threaten Venezuela? And they'll, that's what happens when you threaten the leader of another country. You actually embolden them, you empower them, whether you like it or not. And just that scares me. I do have some hope. I was just talking about this earlier, that if he passes of natural causes, of course, I do not wish the man harm. I would never wish any elected official harm, but we're all mortal and of this earth. But
Right.
if he passes, I don't think that JD Vance will be able to hold on to this kind of cultish MAGA thing, because he just doesn't have the charisma. And I think there will be a schism if that happens, of part of the MAGA base will say, oh, he's not dead, or, oh, he was murdered. There'll
Yeah.
be this split and disillusionment. And I also, Tuesday gave me hope, even though we're kind of in shambles right now in the Senate and House. There's a lot of drama going on now with the shutdown and it's just, but the Tuesday's mini blue wave gave me hope, in that if Republicans see that there's a price for just, rubber stamping everything this lunatic pushes, they might think twice and start to push back. Like if they think, oh, I could lose my seat because people really don't like this, and people are angry with covering the Oval Office in gold while they can't buy groceries, and wrecking the East Wing and stuff that may not be viewed necessarily as political, but the messaging of, here, Argentina, I'm going to give you a ton of money. Oh, but you can't have health insurance in this country, and I'm going to cut off SNAP. Like stuff like that is, I think, universally kind of icky for a lot of people, even people who aren't very political. I'm not getting
So
involved in this.
what's the reaction? What's the reaction you've gotten from these?
Most people think they're funny. I've had a handful, like two, like I could literally count on one hand, really, really angry left-wing people who misunderstand what they're about, and they'll go, "Why are you normalizing him?" And I'm like,
I've gotten a few of those.
and I'm like, I don't know. And I'm like, wow, you completely misunderstood what I'm doing here. And one was so crazy, because the woman was so worked up that I thought it was funny that I cut her name off of it so I wouldn't, privacy reasons.
Right.
And I posted it on my Facebook fan page. I'm like, somebody really missed the point here. And the comments on that were hilarious, because people were, what? And I said, just so you know that I sometimes get stuff like this where, because I get that about my work against Fox. My favorite is when someone goes, why are you platforming Fox? And I'm like, you need to look up the ratings for Fox before you claim I'm dissing them. Really.
I'm not
I'm like,
platforming them.
yeah.
And what
They're
about from the
huge.
MAGA crowd? How do they treat you?
They say I'm lying about everything. They'll say it's to the point that I can whip out, because I'm really big on like showing my sources. So in
Right.
my videos, if I pull something from like Bureau of Labor Statistics, I will show the screen. Like, this is where I got it. And people will go, you're a liar. And I'm like, how am I lying about the inflation rate? Like, I can't, what? Or
Oh,
they'll say like just basic facts that cannot be refuted from a primary source. And they'll be like, how dare you? You're lying. And I'm like, do you know what the word lie means?
that's
Yeah, because it's the honestly, MAGA has like three insults: is they personally insult you, okay,
right.
meaningless. You're stupid and ugly, and I hate you. And I'm like, okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, I always tell them that I have family members who love me who've said worse about me. Do your worst.
You get the personal insult, then you get called a liar, even when there's
Yeah.
something you presented that there's no possible way you could lie about. And then the other one is they'll say, basically, you're just a libtard and you're making all of this up. And you're like, you're brainwashed. That's the other one I get from the MAGA.
Yeah.
The weirdest trolls I get are the left wing ones, and they're not as common. But the left wing ones who just do
They're
not
not.
understand. They don't understand what I'm doing, and they're like, "Why would you even watch Fox? Why?" I'm like, I know you don't realize they have an enormous influence, but they do. A bunch of Fox people work in the White House now.
Yes.
Just saying. But they'll be like, why would you even do that? I don't get it. You're boosting them. And I'm like, again, no, I'm not.
And I really want to thank you for being here. To me, it is such a joy to just see or hear you read it, see the words, and it's so helpful. I have actually, I had a friend of mine I've known him for 35 years, loves Donnie. And I said, hey, and he asked me, why do I always pick on Donald? So I just turned him over. I said, just watch this. And it took him like a day. And he got back to me. He goes, okay, you're right.
I'm telling you, you could line it up with a transcript. It's verbatim.
Yeah, it's just, he checked it. He was so incensed. He thought that you were making it all up because I've told him this, and he wasn't listening. And so I provided the transcript, and I let him see what you had produced, and he goes, "Okay, you're right." So, if you can convince one person, so you've done that much.
That's what I'm trying to do over here. Yeah.
Anyway, Juliet, what would you like to plug as we end?
Just Decoding Fox News on all platforms, Substack, Patreon. If you want to be a financial supporter, both Substack and Patreon are the best way to do that. And then if you just want to watch my content, Instagram, not so much YouTube. Don't really do TikTok because they censor me like crazy. And every social media platform you can imagine. But my biggest following, weirdly, is on Instagram now, which is
There you go.
I'll take it.
All righty. Well, thanks for being here. I hope you'll join us again. I have an idea we'll run across each other at least a few more times during this administration. Again, thanks for being here. This is Just Ask the Question. I am your host, Brian Karam. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next time.
It's Trump without Trump. You won't have to listen to his voice or see his face. This quote is unedited and 100% accurate. This is from Trump's speech to military generals and admirals on September 30th, 2025. These are the words of the President of the United States of America. That you couldn't get people to join the armed forces. And by the way, the police also. Fire department. I always put the fire department in because they're great. They're great! And I got 95% of their vote, too. That helps when you get 95% of the vote. You always have to mention them. But they're great. And they're brave in our inner cities, which we're going to be talking about because it's a big part of war now. It's a big part of war. But the firemen go up and ladders and, people shooting at them while they're up and ladders. I don't even know if anybody heard that. And I said, don't talk about it much. But I think our firemen are incredible. They're up on these ladders. It goes way up to the sky, rescuing people, and you have animals shooting at them, shooting bullets at firemen that are way up in death territory. You fall off that ladder over, and it's over. They don't even have to inspect you when you hit the ground, and yet people are shooting bullets at them in some of these inner cities. We're not going to let that happen. So I always mention the firemen because that's actually the problem we have. They're unbelievable like you. They're unbelievable people. Donald J. Trump. It's Trump without Trump. You won't have to listen to his voice or see his face. This quote is unedited and 100% accurate. This is from the Oval Office press conference on September 15th, 2025. These are the words of the President of the United States of America. A new thing that I've been seeing a lot of lately, but never saw before, is they're walking in with bricks and rocks and everything, and the FBI or the Border Patrol or ICE and or the police are grabbing them or taking them away, and that's great. And then they whip out a hammer, and it's a beautiful hammer. Really, it's nice. This is not a hammer somebody happens to have. These are serious hammers, beautiful, brand new hammers, and they start breaking up the concrete sidewalks in the granite curbs. And in many cases, granite is hard to cut, It's very hard stone, and they're banging away and handing out pieces of stone. So instead of having it in bags and banging the sidewalk knocking, then you have to see what some of these sidewalks look like when they finish. And especially the curbs, because the granite curbs are very, very expensive, and they're great, and very hard, very. They are almost indestructible, but not when it gets pounded on for 20 minutes by some pretty strong guy. And then they hand out big chunks of stone so that people can throw them at the police, and people can drop them off bridges into car windows. No, we have a long way to go, and we're going to make it all good. We're going to make it really safe. This country's going to be safe. We've got almost 25 years. Think of that, 3.5 years. It's a long time. It goes quickly. But at the end of that time, I hope one of the many things we can say is that we made our city safe again. Donald J. Trump.